How do you remake a problematic slasher movie for a modern audience? Well, apparently you hire a queer, polyasexual filmmaker, send her back to the original summer camp with the franchise's original final girl, throw in a mass killer named Little Death, and let the whole thing explode into a psychosexual catastrophe. Now, Jane Schoenbrun had already made two of my favorite movies of their respective years, so my expectations for teenage sex and death at Camp Miasma were pretty high. Yet somehow, absolutely lived up to him. Roll the tape. What's going on, everybody? T watches a scary movie here, and tonight we're talking teenage sex and death at Camp Miasma. Now, the film follows Chris, played by Hannah Einbinder, a young filmmaker who's been given the opportunity to revitalize the long-dormant Camp Miasma slasher franchise. Chris doesn't want to just make another slasher movie, she wants to elevate it. She acknowledges the misogyny, the transphobia that are baked into the original movies, and she believes she could take this problematic franchise, turn it into something meaningful. And to do that, she tracks down Billy Presley, played by Gillian Anderson, the final girl from the original Camp Miasma. Billy has long since left the spotlight behind, but making that first movie gave her something. She found meaning, a kind of enlightenment through the experience, and so when Chris shows up, Billy doesn't necessarily want another 15 minutes of fame. She wants Chris to experience what she did. And as the two grow closer, Chris begins opening herself up in ways she never expected as the reality surrounding these two women and the camp begins to unravel. Now, right off the jump, we have got to start with Hannah Einbinder and Gillian Anderson. Obviously, a lot of people are going to see this movie because Anderson is in it, and rightfully so. She's amazing. But if you have not watched Hannah Einbinder in Acts yet, get to HBO Max and check that out because she should be every bit as much of a draw here as Anderson. The chemistry between these two is what makes the entire movie works. Chris thinks that she's there just to make a movie, but Billy sees something of herself in Chris and again wants to give her that exact same enlightenment that she has found. The relationship gets increasingly intimate, increasingly strange, and increasingly complicated. Now, I loved one particular bit here that Jane Schoenbrun made sure to acknowledge Shockmaster Wes Craven, and specifically Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Because when you think about Camp Miasma as a whole, this is not a story that you can tell without acknowledging that film. The idea of bringing the original actress back to revisit that very role, only for the fictional horror surrounding the movie to begin bleeding into reality, that is absolutely Wes Craven's New Nightmare. But rather than simply copying Craven's homework, Schoenbrun uses that basic idea to explore something completely different here. Now, Schoenbrun's never been shy about the themes in their movies, but Camp Miasma, without question, is their most direct. Chris will outright tell us about her asexuality, her fears that she won't be taken seriously as a filmmaker, the problems she has with the original Camp Miasma, and her desire to correct them. The movie does just as much telling as it does showing, but that's part of the joke. It's a movie where an orgasm is represented by somebody literally being impaled by a spear. Chris is a queer polyasexual director trying to remake a misogynistic and transphobic franchise. She gets on a Zoom call with studio execs talking about things being woke and the wrong audiences, and there's somebody on the call literally labeled queer assistant. It is so unbelievably on the nose. And that kind of extends to the supporting cast as well, too. Jasmine Savoy Brown and Sarah Sherman show up in smaller roles as Chris's partner and agent, and both of them get some hilarious material. Brown plays into fundamental rules of horror, talking about if you're going somewhere isolated and dangerous, maybe tell me where you're going, give me the address, I want to know that you're safe. She wants Chris's location. Sarah Sherman's character couldn't give a damn about Chris's artistic expressions and her aspirations. You want to elevate the slasher genre? Cool. Are you getting paid, though? They're small roles, but they help give the movie the familiar slasher texture while we're doing something completely different. And if all this sounds just a bit too cerebral and you're like, T, do I actually get a slasher movie? Oh yeah, you absolutely do. We get extended sequences from the original Camp Miasma featuring Will Cherry from Severance, and they're absolutely incredible. They establish the backstory of Little Death, and it feels like somebody threw Friday the 13th and Sleepaway Camp into a blender. The scenes are bloody, they're ridiculous, and they will absolutely scratch that itch for anybody who is just straight up looking for that slasher representation here. It is truly, truly fantastic. Now, I don't think that this film is as scary as I Saw the TV Glow or We're All Going to the World's Fair, but I absolutely love what's done with the horror here. Some of the most unsettling moments in the movie are literally nothing. It's Chris traveling to the camp, hiking up to it, walking through these old abandoned buildings, meeting Billy, spending that first night there. There's something weirdly horrifying underneath all of it, and you keep waiting for something terrible to happen that never does. But then when the movie actually starts giving you blood and killing, it's not really scary. It goes back to being part of the funny part because it's hilarious, it's sexual, it's exaggerated, and sometimes it's really, really cathartic. Schoenbrun takes the language of a slasher movie and flips it completely on its head here. So let's get some tapes going for this one. We're going to add a tape for Hannah Einbinder and Gillian Anderson. Anderson is fantastic, but Einbinder proves that she is just as much of a reason to see this movie as Anderson is. We're going to add a tape because we are flipping the slasher formula here. The quiet moments are horrifying. The murders are fun. Schoenbrun absolutely understands the rules well enough to completely screw with them. We're going to add a tape for a movie within a movie because those original Camp Miasma sequences give us the straight up summer camp slasher that the rest of the movie is examining. We are going to add a tape for Jack Haven and Little Death. It is a tremendous performance and a piece of casting that actively engages some of the genre's uglier history instead of directly ignoring it. And finally, we're going to add a tape for being unapologetically completely on the nose. The movie knows what it's saying. Sometimes it whispers it, sometimes it screams it, and sometimes it just puts Queer Assistant on a Zoom call in case you somehow missed the point here. Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma had a nearly impossible task for me. Jane Schoenbrun's last two movies set my expectations incredibly high, and this movie absolutely lived up to them. It's funny, it's weird, it's sexual, it's uncomfortable, it's thoughtful, bloody, and unmistakably a Jane Schoenbrun movie. It's also a love letter to the slasher genre from someone completely willing to look that genre in the eye and acknowledge all of its baggage. Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma gets 5 out of 5 tapes. And I cannot wait to see what Schoenbrun does next. Let me know in the comment section what you thought of this one. If you got a chance, check this one out. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. That's tonight's tape. Don't watch it alone.